just look at this car from a side view. Just have your eyes wander from the rear to the middle, into the front, and follow these lines from the ducktail and see where that line goes. We have some exciting news from Lotus. This is the Lotus Emira, and in this video we're going to talk about some of the spec and tech of this car, and of course the design of this thing. It's a beautiful car. Just looking at it is a pleasure because of all the line flow that goes on, and I want to have some fun with this. I was thinking about putting this video on my first channel, the Sketch Monkey, and do a redesign of it, but then I thought there is really nothing that I want to redesign here. However, there are a couple of things that I want to play around with graphically that I want to see how that will affect the design. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about when we get into that point. So the Lotus Emira here is the 2022 model, and they say it's not a replacement for the Elise or Exige or any Lotus model, but those models are going out of production, so this is going to be the only model left. And you're not going to see any more internal combustion engines from Lotus after this. And think about that, really. It's kind of weird to think about that. We're not going to see any future internal combustion engines from Lotus. It's kind of sad when you think about it. But anyway, this is the last one, and you're going to have two choices to choose from, two engine choices. You have the AMG sourced 4-cylinder, which is going to make about 360 horsepower, and you have a supercharged 400 horsepower V6 that you currently have in the Evora. We expect the price somewhere around $70,000, and that begs the question: would you choose this or would you choose a Corvette C8? Well, based on the design, at least to me, the answer is pretty obvious. This is the first Lotus, brand new Lotus, since the introduction of the Evora. That was over a decade ago in 2009. And it doesn't have any active aerodynamic elements on the car, but Lotus says that it will produce sufficient downforce spread equally over the front and rear based on just how the design looks and based on the line flow and the aero of the car itself, which is pretty cool. And I can kind of see what they're talking about just by looking at the car from a side view. And the interior as well, it feels like Lotus really stepped it up here. You have a 10.2-inch touchscreen in the middle and a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster in the middle as standard. And although the company has opted to keep conventional controls for the heating and ventilation, which is a good thing, because that's one thing that I kind of wish I had in my car, a Tesla Model 3. I wish I had the knobs for the ventilation. Those are the only tactile buttons or knobs that I miss in the car, and I'm glad that Lotus decided to keep those. And you have both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto integrated as standard as well. For the engines here, you have the 2-liter AMG engine that produces 360 horsepower, which is a little less than you get from the same engine in the A45. Mercedes A45 AMG, and you also have the 3.5-liter Toyota V6 from the Evora. So instead of 416 horsepower, which you get in the Evora, here you get around 400 horsepower. But you can't get this engine with a manual transmission. You can only get the 4-cylinder with a dual clutch automatic. The quickest version of the Emira here will be able to sprint from 0 to 60 miles an hour in about 4.5 seconds and reach a top speed of 180 miles per hour. Not bad at all. But the biggest surprise here is still the price. All of this exoticness and performance you get with the Emira won't cost you exotic levels of cash. Its base price is estimated to land, as I said, somewhere around the $70,000 range, low $70,000 range, and it will be sold here in the US. So I don't know, thinking about the price point, and you have the Corvette C8 or you have the Emira here, to me, I mean, the choice is obvious. I would choose the Emira, the Lotus, just based on the design. And which one would I rather walk up to and get excited about to drive? Would it be if I had a C8 or if I had an Emira? Which one would I actually walk up towards and try to analyze the design and just want to get into? It would be the Lotus. That's just my choice. I would love to hear what you would choose. Let me know in the comments below. Now, let's jump into the design here. Let's talk about the Emira and the design of this car. As I said, I think it's a great looking design. It looks so much more expensive than what it actually is. And I think they made not just a good job in the design, but the overall quality feel, because Lotus to me has always been sort of like a kit car. They put pieces together, but they don't necessarily always play well together, all the pieces. But in this case, I mean, it's a great looking design. I want to show you the side view later and also show you the inspiration they took, or the correlation between this and the Evija, which is their electronic EV hypercar. There's a lot going on that is similar between the two models, but if we look at the front view here, it's a very simple design. And you have this aero bits right here, so you have air coming in right here and then go over here and then swoop in to the back right here, and this all creates this downforce that Lotus is talking about in their press material, is that you don't need active aero if you have a good, proper design to begin with. You can definitely tell that this is one of these designs where you have a lot of... the shell itself acts as a wing, and I think that's really cool. And I've said this before, I think the Brits now are actually coming closer to having a smoother, more exotic, emotional design than the Italians, and that's kind of weird when you think about it. Ferrari used to be the #1 brand when it comes to emotional design and really have this elegance and beauty in them. But now I feel like McLaren and Lotus now with this Emira and the Evija as well, they have taken over the throne as the kings of emotion and elegance when it comes to the design. If you look at a Ferrari F8 Tributo, for example, I always take this as an example because I think that's just... it lacks the passion that a Ferrari is supposed to have. I feel like that was a rushed model. I feel like Ferrari thought we need to put out a new mid-engine model. Let's just take what we have and let's put out the F8 Tributo, and that's what they did. And it turned out to be a lesser model. It's not going to be a model that people are going to remember from years to come. But I think the Emira here really has this emotion that I'm looking for in the Italian brands. Before we go into the changes that I want to do here to the Emira, and it's just tiny changes, nothing major, because it's such a beautiful car. I just want to show you the Emira here in a side view and show you the line flow and compare it to the Evija and what I appreciate about Lotus design right now and what they're doing right. So just look at this car from a side view. Just have your eyes wander from the rear to the middle into the front and follow these lines from the ducktail and see where that line goes, and then have it go into the side of the body, up through the front fender and go down into the front end of the car, as you can see right here. So instead of just talking about it, I'm going to visualize it here now for you. So you have this line right here going into this line right here and then up into the front fender, and then we have this beautiful line down here, which is kind of, if there's something I would like to change, it's maybe the angle, the harshness of this corner down there. It's a little harsh compared to what's going on in the rest of the car, but it's such a small detail that it doesn't matter at all really. But it's just something I want to point out. And you have this going into the front end as well, and then dip like this going down here, and you have this beautiful long line. This is the key line in the Emira here. If you want to have one line that really wraps around the entire car, it's this line right here. You have it going down here into, you still have it here, it's visible right here, right behind the front axle, and then of course it comes back with power right there in the front, and it creates the nose of the car. And on top of that you have the greenhouse right here as well, being beautifully just a sweeping curve like this. Traditional mid-engine proportions of this car, looks very nice and very cool. And you have this similar shape of the Evija right here, so it's a similar design. It's very, they kind of have the same approach to specifically the graphics of the car. As you can see here, this is a lot more sculptured in the middle of the car. You have a lot more line flow going on here as well. There are lines going everywhere, but they all have a purpose. So they all connect with something in this car, and that's what I feel is missing with, for example, Ferraris. But they're kind of coming back now with the 296 and the Roma as well. They kind of coming back to that elegance that I'm lacking in Ferrari the recent years. But this just is a beautiful car, and I can't believe it's $70,000 or in the low $70,000. It's just a really good deal in my opinion. However, let's have a look at this view right here. This is of course the 3/4 rear view. So this is what I want to talk about here and just have some fun. So as I said, this line right here, I think this is a little rough. This shape right here, it's a little harsh, this area right here. So what I want to try and do here, they made this part black to make the car look narrower, because then we have the only body color, it gets very thin here. We have the blue body color kind of squeezing together, so the shortest distance is right here, where you have the top of this graphic area right here, the black part in the bottom. So what I want to try and do, just to experiment with, is what if we cut this like this and made this black and this black, and to make it seem even lighter, why not try and make this part black as well? Not sure if I want to do something to the rear end. It feels a little empty right here in the middle. We might want to have some lines going, something like this, maybe connect to the things that are in the diffuser right here or something like that. Nothing major. Maybe I'll just leave it as it is, but these are some changes that I want to try and see how it's going to turn out. Because graphically we can still play around with this. The body is still going to be the same, but we can definitely have some fun and try to make it look even lighter than what it is. So those are the only changes that I wanted to make to the Lotus Emira here, is just to try to make it look more athletic than what it already is by using some graphics and keeping the body as it is. This could be done if you get a car like this. If you get this Emira, for example, you could do this, maybe buy some wrap, but the only problem would be this part right here. I kind of want to have this be a part that you insert down here in the bottom. I haven't done the before and after here, but if we look at the before here, you can see that we have more body mass, you have more curvatures going around the rear wheel right here, and it kind of goes all the way down to almost the ground and then up again. And same thing here, we have this high point right here and this low point. I want to bring these low points and high points narrower to the center line of the car, and you do that as we did by using some graphic features right here, so to black out some pieces. And I think it actually works great. It looks really cool with these parts blacked out. It looks lighter now, even lighter than it does originally. And on top of that, what I wanted to do with the wheel set, the reason why I filled out the wheels and not have it be like this is because the wheels to me are the only thing that connects the car to the ground. It's what makes the car look planted, and I want to have that be visible by having something in the wheel be a full circle. It doesn't matter, it has to be something that is a full circle, and I don't have that here. We have a disconnect between these pieces right here, and what that looks like to me is almost like broken, like you have a broken feet or something. That's the only analogy I can think of right now, is that the feet of the car is broken, and it doesn't look as planted onto the ground as it would be if you just fill out the wheels and in the graphic. You can still have the same design of the wheels, but just make sure you fill out the outline, so the outline looks like it fills out the wheelhouse and follows this shape of the car. I think that's important, in at least for me, in a visual sense, to have the same kind of shape that you have in the wheelhouse right here, and have that be filled out by the wheel itself, specifically when you're talking about sports cars. If you have off-roaders, doesn't matter that much. You can have a square size like this, but not for a car like this. And this is my take on the Lotus Emira. I think it's a great looking car. Fantastic job by Lotus to step out not just the design on the exterior and the price point, but also the quality and the build quality from what we can see so far, and not just on the outside but the inside as well. It looks like a place that you really want to be and sit in and drive this car. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.